Hello, folks. Welcome to this True North Insight meditation. My name is Jill Davey, and I'm one of the Dharma teachers with True North Insight. And tonight, you'll notice the background is darker here in the video. If you've been watching these previously, and I have some candles lit because the theme tonight is turning towards the darkness. And I'll say a little bit about this theme. Famous last words, some of you know. And this theme arose today because I've been noticed in different groups and meditations and interactions and conversations with friends, particularly today, but also lately, these last few days. Hearing people share their struggle with the actual physical darkness, this being late November, and with the time change and the shorter days. And this also compounded by the pandemic physical distancing that we're practicing at this time, I think is maybe exacerbating that feeling of isolation. Well, and some people in Toronto or Peel, probably other areas I'm not aware of right now, are in, back in that first stage of kind of lockdown. And yeah, so I think it's challenging and triggering, and can really have a tendency towards feeling overwhelmed and even triggering grief and loneliness, despair. A lot of these kind of things are what I'm hearing. Yeah, so there's that aversion to the darkness, the physical darkness, and the context of it at this year and at this time. But I've also heard some stuff today that was around an aversion to our own like inner personal shadow side that and some things that came up for people where that's really feeling like a failure, when we have these shadow sides of greed, hatred, delusion, when all the ways that shows up, and a sense of shame or hiding or failure, or grief showing up, loneliness, all of these different ways it shows up, and a tendency to fix it really quickly. And I know someone that was sharing about like kind of the arsenal of things that they kind of threw at the physical and emotional things that were arising for them today, and then they're like just really on like the guided meditation and the aromatherapy and the Reiki and the mantras, and really working hard to fix that. And there's a real prevalence tendency for that kind of aversion to our own inner, what we might label as darkness or shadowy aspects of our character and personality. On my fridge at home, I have this strip of paper. You can't see what it says at all, but so I'll just tell you, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it's 10 Tips for a Mindful Home by Karen Mazen, Maezen Miller. And they're lovely. I really like them. I'll see if I can find a copy to share in the YouTube video down below. So anyways, the 9th one on this list of 10 says, let the darkness come. And it's a very practical point here. She goes on to say, set a curfew on the internet and TV and discover the natural balance between daylight and darkness, work and rest. So here on our Zoom call, I was encouraging people to turn their lights down or off, or light some candles, and, turn maybe the screen away from you so you don't have that bright light of this screen shining on you, or even lower, if you have a laptop, so you could just hear without seeing if you choose. So to really start to turn towards and embrace the darkness of our seasons and the darkness of these shorter days, because they are temporary. And starting on solstice, December 21st, the days get brighter again. So it's not very long that we have here to really be turning towards the darkness, and what does it have to show us? Yeah. Wendell Berry, you may have heard this, says it this way: to go in the dark with a light is to know the light. To know the dark, go dark. Go without sight and find the dark, and find that the dark too blooms and sings, and is traveled by dark feet and dark wings. Isn't that beautiful? To go in the dark with a light is to know the light. To know the dark, go dark. Go without sight and find that the dark too blooms and sings, and is traveled by dark feet and dark wings. Yeah, so I don't want to minimize here the reality that of seasonal affective disorder and of depression, and that if that's the case for you, where this seasonal change and the pandemic and all of these factors are really causing a dark night of the soul, as we might call it, or a really deeper depression, then do please reach out and get help, and ask for support. You could send me a message and I'll connect you to supports. Reach out if you have a therapist, and look for those supports. So I'm not talking about that kind of darkness, heaviness, depression, but just a kind that's where maybe we're adding to the story around it. I was noticing this in myself. It's like, oh, it's getting grim. The days are so short. Oh, it's so dark. And oh, what, kind of adding to the story about it and bemoaning it. And just by a little shift of my attention towards turning towards the darkness here, it really has brought more ease and peace and comfort and actually enjoyment of this time of darkness. I was offering a guided meditation the other day that was also helpful for me. And it was more of a visualization, but also into a guided meditation. It was around the seasons, and particularly feeling and imagining, visualizing a tree moving through its seasons, and the tree starting in spring, in the buds and the energy rising, the sap rising, all the green, the energy, the filling, all that growth, and then gradually taking that through this summer and the fullness and the full canopy of the tree, and then fall, of course, the letting go, and all that energy inside the tree that's arisen starts to draw back down and into the winter tree, where the tree actually pulls back in its nutriments from the leaves and in and down into its roots. So it was really helpful to connect with that image of a winter tree and drawing down into our roots, into that interconnected web that is always available. Because, we may be feeling really isolated at this time. And connecting deeply with this sense of how all the trees are interconnected and speaking and communicating with each other in this deeper, quieter, subtle way is something that we can actually tap into ourselves. And connecting with the ground. And then through that, when we connect in that way, we can see when all the leaves have let go in this big tree, you can see the night sky. There's an openness. The leaves have dropped away and all the branches are open, and there's a real clear seeing that can happen. So we might drop in a little bit of this tree imagery into our meditation tonight. The other aspect here about darkness, turning towards the dark, this literal physical darkness of this season, but also this sense of our inner shadow, to remember and understand that dukkha, suffering, is a gateway for freedom. And even though we can have aversion to that, it's unpleasant, I don't want to pay attention to that, to really know and understand that it's actually a way, it's what usually brings us to practice, is suffering, pain, in all of the ways that it shows up, everything from discontent to anguish, stress, all of the ways. Turning towards how it is actually the way to freedom. I've heard a couple times, and I can't remember where I first heard it, but you may, have heard the term enlightenment. Enlightenment. Maybe this is something we strive for, or just awakening, our everyday. But I've also then heard this other term, endarkenment. Instead of enlightenment, endarkenment. And how, like Wendell Berry is pointing to here, the light and the dark. And Deborah Eden Toll is giving a teaching soon, I think, on this theme of endarkenment. And she said, practice points to the freedom that is possible when we let go of trying to attain light while judging the dark, or even perceiving light and dark as separate. So our practice points to the freedom that is possible when we let go of trying to attain light while at the same time judging the dark. That's really true and profound. So we can see, is this part of what's happening for me? Am I being harsh and judgmental around whatever darkness is showing up? And can I actually, the practice is pointing me towards this, that this is actually a place of wisdom and freedom and understanding. Okay, so I'm going to keep the talk short tonight so we can have a nice full practice. And then those of us on the Zoom call can share after the recording if you choose to. I've put in the Zoom chat, and I'll put it below in the YouTube version, this poem from, that's right, Rosemary Witola-Tromer. I don't know how she does it, but yeah. Anyway, she always has a poem on the theme that I'm looking for. And this one is called Making Peace with the Darkness. And it's amazing. How did you do that, Rosemary? Perhaps we have past lives intertwined somehow. So here's Rosemary's teaching on making peace with the darkness. Beautiful poem here. Oh, my child, I say, you need not fear the night. Its unlit corners, rooms of dim unknown. The darkness helps us learn beyond the light. But Mom, how do I know that you're all right? If I can't see you, I feel so alone. My child, I say, there's goodness in the night. The dark erases any lines we might have drawn, makes all the world appear as one. The dark helps us to see beyond the light. But Mom, I don't feel safe without my sight. What if there's monsters, spiders, things that groan? My child, I say, there's kindness in the night. You feel how darkness holds the whole world tight? It embraces every human, creature, stone. The darkness helps us reach beyond the light. It hugs us all, despite our wrongs, our rights, inviting everyone into its home. My child, I say, you need not fear the night. The darkness helps us love beyond the light. Thank you, Rosemary. So if you're joining us by YouTube, you might like to do this meditation with some darkness around you. If that feels comfortable for you, you could light some candles, perhaps get a blanket, perhaps turn away from the brightness of your screen if you're at a computer. Yeah. So begin to rest your eyes. And as the eyes rest, the face can soften. As the face softens, the neck and shoulders could become long and heavy. You might like also to lay down for this meditation, and if you drift into sleep, that's okay. Softening the body as much as feels okay for you right now. Feel a heaviness of shoulders, sliding down arms into relaxed hands. And the darkness invites softness. We don't need to put on any expression for anyone to see. We don't need to hold ourselves in or make ourselves smaller for anyone. We can let it all be soft. Soft belly resting into heavy pelvis and hips. Don't need to hold ourselves away from the ground, melting into, softening into. And like that winter tree that has dropped its leaves, it doesn't need to, it doesn't push the leaves off or make anything go. Just falling away, dropping away. So see if there's anything with you tonight that you could just let it be. And see if it just drops away for a time. Maybe thoughts or worries or plans, stories of who you are and who you should be. Just falling down, dropping away. And the energy of that tree, the sap that rose up in the spring, begins to draw back in. And the nutrients draw back down into our roots, nourishing our roots now. Feeling the ground. This might awaken sensations through your legs and feet and seat. Through our connection with ground and roots, we can sense and feel this subtler and deeper connection with each other that's beyond words, beyond socializing, deeper than hugs. We are all interconnected. All affected and affecting each other. And you can feel this, tap into this. You are loved. You are deeply cared for. And you offer that care to infinite beings. As much as possible, resting into the feeling of ground and connection. The darkness of this winter times, bringing quietude and receptivity, quiet and still, releasing, letting go. Rest and restoration. Inviting and connecting, returning to the sensations of softening, grounding, quieting, and connecting. And perhaps as you soften into this, there might also be this felt experience of the open canopy of this winter tree image we were talking about earlier, where the leaves have dropped away. The open branches revealing this vast and infinite, dark, starry sky. Just feeling the beauty in this bareness, this openness, the clear seeing that can be possible for us. And in this relaxed, grounded, clear seeing, perhaps there's an opportunity to turn towards the darkness, turn towards our own inner shadow. What is asking to be known? Perhaps there's grief here, or fear, loneliness, anger, doubt, greed. Without judging or pushing away, just gently understanding that the freedom is possible without judging any inner shadows, without trying to attain the light. If you notice agitation or contraction rising up again, like that spring tree, you kind of feel the energy rising again in the body or the mind or your to-do list. And just see if you can just notice it, that's happening, and allow your being to settle again. Connect with the feeling of the ground, present moment, the body. Oh, it's like this right now. If the mind is feeling busy and sparkly and active, can you just be light with the thoughts and just see them like those little flashes of light in the dark and vast sky, the stars flickering, just just thoughts coming and going without needing to pick any of them up or add fuel, just thoughts flickering by. Let the soothing, quieting, conserving energy of darkness soften you, soothe you, restore you. You might feel at times that pull towards activity and productivity, mm, brightness and doing and getting. And just notice that cultural and habitual pull of energy. Just as it arose, it can pass away. There's nothing we need to fix or get right now. For a few more minutes here, silence, quiet, dark. And perhaps for these last few minutes, you can feel into and hear how the darkness too blooms and sings. What gifts are here to be turned towards? Making Peace with the Darkness by Rosemary Tromer. My child, I say, you need not fear the night, its unlit corners, rooms of dim unknown. The darkness helps us learn beyond the light. But Mom, how do I know that you're all right if I can't see you? I feel so alone. My child, I say, there's goodness in the night. The dark erases any lines we might have drawn, makes all the world appear as one. The dark helps us to see beyond the light. But Mom, I don't feel safe without my sight. What if there's monsters, spiders, things that groan? My child, I say, there's kindness in the night. You feel how darkness holds the whole world tight, embracing every human, creature, stone. The darkness helps us reach beyond the light. It hugs us all despite our wrongs, our rights, inviting everyone into its home. My child, I say, you need not fear the night. The darkness helps us love beyond the light. So for those of you who have joined our practice on the YouTube channel, I'll just say good night to you, and those on the Zoom, if you wish, you can stay and we'll have some community time and conversation. And for those on the YouTube, down below, I'll post Rosemary's poem, Wendell Berry's quote, and the other references that I gave, the 10 tips for mindful home. I'll see if I can find a copy of that as well. And there'll be links there as well to offer support to myself, donations as you're able, or to True North Insight. So thank you for joining us.